pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can I get a roll call vote, please? Those nights. I saw him. I have Supervisors Decker, Gable, and Boyd Frederick are excused. And we'll give a few more minutes to see if Supervisor Grady walks in. Go ahead. Okay, we'll move along with citizens' comments if there's any citizens to speak. Please state your name and address for the record. You'll have 5 minutes.
My name is Jody Muirhoff, and my address is 121 68th Place. I'm here to speak to you tonight to urge you to adopt the resolution supporting the ruling invalidating state legislative maps and ordering new ones. In other words, I'm here to support the end of partisan gerrymandering in Wisconsin. The right to vote is fundamental. It's our voice. Voters should choose our politicians, not the other way around. In January, the United States District Court for the Western District of Wisconsin found the Wisconsin legislature's remapping violated both the First Amendment and the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment because it aimed to deprive Democratic voters of their right to be represented. The judges ruled that the maps were unconstitutional because they were intended to burden the representational rights of Democratic voters by impeding their ability to translate their votes into legislative seats. During the trial, Wisconsin maps were called the most extreme partisan gerrymander in recent memory in the United States. Our gerrymandered state is an example of win at all costs, regardless of what is fair or what is right. Gerrymandering corrupts the principle of one man, one vote by devaluing one citizen's vote to enhance another's, allowing a minority to control the majority. In January, a federal court ordered Scott Walker and lawmakers to redraw the districts by November 1st, 2017, to ensure their use in the fall 2018 elections. The federal court rejected the state's request to wait until the Supreme Court weighed in on the case before redrawing the lines. Republicans, however, have decided to give a blank check to lawyers in an attempt to overturn this decision and uphold Wisconsin's gerrymandered districts, to continue fighting for an unfair advantage in upcoming elections. If the shoe were on the other foot, Democrats might choose to do the same. That is why nonpartisan lines are so important. My husband and I wrote our tax checks this weekend. It was painful, as it always is, but we understand it's important for us to pay for the things that our state and our country needs in order to function and to thrive. Paying lawyers to fight this court ruling is not being fiscally responsible with our money. All lawmakers should be making wise choices with our money and should be investing our scarce taxpayer resources into classrooms for our children, into our roads, and into our communities, not into lawyers' fees. I'm asking you to please adopt the resolution supporting the ruling invalidating state legislative maps and ordering new ones. No matter your political affiliation, one party should never have an advantage in an election. That is not the American way. Everyone's voice deserves to be heard, and everyone's vote should count equally. Thank you.
Thank you. Please state your name and address for the record.
Virginia Hoekstra, 6209 75th Street. I am here because I'm requesting some information. When I was here the last time, your budget was being announced, and during that time, it was announced that you were purchasing, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is what I want to know. You were purchasing a building and revamping it in order to help First Step. Is this correct? I have been to city council meetings and First Step has been brought up and they're having a problem and they like to say it's the county's problem. I hope that you can work together, but before I go back to city council and speak, I would like to have the facts straight. Do you have a building under CARE, I believe it was called C-A-R-E, that you were purchasing for the help of First Step and addictions? If someone could help me with this question, I would really appreciate it so that when I go to City Council, I have the facts straight, because I think that the county and the city should work together to solve this problem. They want to shut down First Step. I understand the citizens around there, they don't like First Step, and I understand that. I have something in my backyard that I don't like, but I can't do anything about it. So I understand their concern. So help me understand so I have the facts straight from the county before I go back to City Council. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other citizen comments? Please state your name and address for the record.
I'm Joe Puroy at 505 13th Street in Summers. I am speaking in favor of Resolution 129 that would support the court ruling that invalidated the current legislative maps and require that new ones be drawn. I ask that you vote in favor of this resolution to send a message to our government in Madison that Kenosha County expects them to be good stewards of our tax dollars and spend our money to correct the maps rather than defend them on appeal. The current maps have been proven to allow legislators to choose their voters rather than allow voters to choose their representatives. I hope as our elected officials, we can count on you to support Kenosha County voters' rights to fair elections. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other citizen comments? Please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Michael Connolly. My address is 9576 3rd Avenue in Pleasant Prairie. The reason I came here tonight on a very short notice was to speak in favor of Resolution 129. Partisan gerrymandering is the most dangerous threat to the democracy we all cherish. It actually impedes the ability of the public to hold its elected representatives responsible. It undermines the representative nature that is the foundation of our government. It is we the people, not we the politicians. To add insult to injury, the leadership in the State Assembly refuses to abide by the ruling of two courts. They are appealing, as it is their right, not through the resources of their own Attorney General, but using taxpayer money to fund private counsel to repress the democratic process. This is reprehensible. I would like you all to please consider making a very firm statement to the public, to the community, and to the state of Wisconsin and voting in favor of Resolution 129. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other citizen comments? Citizen comments? Any other citizen comments? Seeing none, we'll move on from citizen comments. Supervisor Grady has joined us. We have Tyler McCarthy here from Human Services Committee from our Youth and Governance Program, and I think that's all the announcements I have. We'll go ahead and move on to supervisor reports. Supervisor Dodge, you have the floor.
Yes, I'd like to report that I attended the Human Services Board meeting on April 10th, and I'd like to review a few of the items that were discussed. Child Support Supervisor Dustin Feeney reported that on April 28th, 2016, the Supreme Court approved a rule mandating electronic filing for civil, family, and small claims cases. Kenosha County was ahead of this mandate starting late in 2015. The results, no extra cost, funding, or overtime, increased efficiency and increased access for customers. On Wisconsin Child Support 2016, Wisconsin collects 74.5% of current support, which is third in the nation. $639 million in child support was collected by Wisconsin child support agencies in 2015. Established paternity for 24,893 children in 2016. It's one of the most cost-effective programs, collecting $6.76 for every dollar spent, which is $1.50 more than the national average. Then we had a report by Mark Melitik, Environmental Manager. He gave an update on recent permits in Kenosha, and I'd like to go over them. The Heritage House Hotel, that's open and waiting for action. U-Line, he said 2 business centers have permits. Long John Silver. Quick Trip, there's 2 Quick Trips in Summers. Mars Cheese Castle has asked for an addition. A Chick-fil-A by Costco. Sugar Box Ice Cream downtown. Coffee Pot bought adjacent property. Wilmont Ice Cream Shop. Dairy Queen, that's the Kenosha Travel Plaza where George Webb was. Bell Foods on 165 and Green Bay Road. Subway, Highway C and 45. Snoop's Ice Cream downtown. Aldi's in Summers. Pedro's Food Mexican Restaurant. It's on 24th and Roosevelt Road. Fresh Time New at Southport. Farm and Fleet, which will be on 60th Street at the frontage road. And some money to remodel Pick and Save on 75th Street. And Kenosha County's Beer Garden, Petrifying Springs Park. So those are the permits that are outstanding, and that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Dodge. Seeing no other supervisor reports, we'll move on. County Clerk?
Resolution 121 from the Finance and Administration Committee, a resolution 2016-2017 carryover and annual closeout. Rose, yes. Ron Frederick, yes. Gens, yes. Dodge, yes. Kubicki, yes. Esposito, yes. Retzlaff, yes.
Supervisor Rose, you have the floor.
All right, thank you, and I would move Resolution 120 on behalf of the committee.
I have a first by Supervisor Rose and a second by Supervisor Ron Frederick. Supervisor Rose.
All right, thank you. The resolution was unanimously endorsed by the committee. It's a standard annual closeout resolution, and essentially what it says is that there are certain projects which were supported by this board in 2016, which are being carried over to 2017 as they have not been completed or possibly started. There is a list of those attached to the resolution, and they range from a Sheriff's Department to Human Services. You can take a look at the specific ones, and I can answer any questions, or the respective administrator can. The only other thing I would draw to your attention, which is focused on in the resolution, is in the District Attorney's budget, $127,537, which was for under the category of professional services, which is now going to be used to finance certain expenses anticipated in the forthcoming Jensen trial, some extraordinary expert witness testimony, and other fees that professional fees which might be incurred as a result of that trial, and the amount of money being, which was previously appropriated, is being carried over to 2017. I think there's one other item of a positive nature that I think ought to be focused on the draft or unaudited budget audit, which you have attached to the resolution and is dated April 5th of 2017. Take a look at page 14, and you'll see there $1,431,786. That is money that is going to the general fund from the Sheriff's Department. The source of that is what you just in business call a profit. and that is for housing of federal prisoners. Many times we discuss that issue. Is it profitable or not? This is the amount of profit after payment of various expenses connected with that. So I think that certainly settles the issue as to whether or not it's a good idea or not. I certainly, and the committee endorses the proposition that it is a good idea when you reflect that kind of money going into the general fund for at the end of 2016. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Rose. Supervisor Bostrom, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I thank you, Supervisor Rose, for that detailed report. This question relates to the balance sheet and a couple of items here, so through the chair to whomever can answer it. I see under assets, it talks about delinquent taxes. I assume they're delinquent property taxes of $11,392,000 approximately. And then under a fund balance or our liabilities, there's delinquent taxes of $7.7 million approximately. Can someone give me an explanation on how to reconcile what these numbers actually mean?
We actually have some experts here tonight.
Outstanding.
Hello, Catherine Andrea with the Finance Department. What we do is we have to calculate taxes that when we record the tax levy, we record it as revenue. But however, we don't collect all those in that year. So our fund balance is increased by that. And then the guidelines for governmental accounting say, okay, you have your fund balance, your equity, that has rolled in there and increased your fund balance. However, you haven't actually collected those right now. It takes a few years to collect all that. So you have to pull that out and say, that's not available for operations.
Okay.
It will be collected, so it's a restricted amount that represents the taxes that are outstanding. After about 3 years, we're at about 99% collected. So this is a few older ones, but more of the recent people that in the last 3 years it has accumulated.
So in like business terms, it's like it's restricted cash flow is what you're talking about.
Restricted equity, I don't think you have that in the for-profit, but it just tells the reader that we point out the 18.3 million that says unassigned.
Okay.
That's what we say is the health of the county, that we can have that available to spend, and we pull out some items. Actually, our fund balance is 27 million.
Okay.
But 18 million is available for operations and unrestricted for
And the
use.
other-
And the 7 million is pulled out to show that it's not really collected yet. And so,
So I think I just heard you say something, that something to the effect of 99% of all taxes that could be collected over the course of 2 years is collected?
it's a longer period, but usually, see, after 3 years, the county can tax deed your property if you don't pay. So most people, within 3 years, will pay, and there's, of course, you know, there's people that don't. So we do have a pretty good collection history. So, you know, we have some graphs that we show the rating agencies, and it comes down to, we end up collecting 99% of these older ones. So these are more recent taxes.
So those that are afraid that the county may take their property, once it gets to 3 years, they come in with a little bit of cash and then, you know, kind of string along.
Yeah.
Can you possibly quantify how much in taxes is in arrears greater than 3 years that we haven't acted upon?
I don't have that with me, but it's, I think, there's probably about 6 or 7 years that are more of this amount, and then after that, I think it's about $40,000 of it that's older. You know, so most of it is more recent.
Well,
I can get you a graph, though.
I would love to see a detailed report on this because as many of you know, I'm in real estate, and I happen to cross a property, which I won't state where it is or what it is, but to say it's owned by a corporation, it's a rather large building, and I was stunned to learn that they're in arrears on taxes greater than 5 years, and they owe almost $600,000 worth of taxes to the county. And this is a building that's assessed at $13 million.
Okay.
So certainly they should be able to afford to pay it. So that's why I'm wondering, when I saw this one example, you know, how many more examples out there are there in greater than what we're talking about?
I know that the treasurer, the county clerk, there's a lot of action going on and watching these properties. We just received new software that is going to help us flag these kind of things and look at that. And so there's a lot more turnover now. I know that in December of 2016, we quit claimed like 25 properties.
Okay.
That means we got that many back on the tax roll.
Okay.
And
Good to
that's
hear.
still happening in the new year. So there's a lot of activity, and they're really working on that. And I know the collection, they do negotiate with people. They want to keep them paying, so
Of
I
course,
don't
you'd
know what the
rather have them pay
situation
than
is.
take the property. I
Right,
get
right.
that. Okay, super.
But we can get you that information.
I'd appreciate that.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Kathy. Any other thoughts? Supervisor Bostrom?
No, I was trying to shut this off.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Rose, you have the floor.
Nothing further, thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other lights, this is a roll call vote. All those in favor, say aye. Oh, push yes. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
Resolution 121 from the Finance and Administration Committee, a resolution to amend the 2017 budget by adding a project office manager in the Division of Information Technology. Rose, yes. Ron Frederick, yes. Esposito, yes. Gens, yes. Kubicki, yes. Redslock, yes. Dodge, yes.
Supervisor Rose, you have the floor.
I would move Resolution 121.
I have a first by Supervisor Rose, a second by Supervisor Gens. Supervisor Rose.
All right, this is the creation of a position called Project Office Manager in the Division of Information Technologies. Now, why are we creating this new job? Because it'll save $93,000 and it is explained here on one of the supporting sheets here explaining the position. Right now, we are contracting for this service, and we are paying the contractor some $243,000. That contract ends April 30th of this year. And so we can hire somebody with salary and benefits at $150,000, thus saving $93,000. The position is one which will manage large-scale information technology projects. One of those projects currently is the Enterprise Resource Planning Project. This does require some oversight from a manager, and that we have been, currently contracting out. This isn't the only type of project, but similar type things come annually, and this manager will take care of that. So this was the recommendation of the administration. The committee reviewed it and supports it and urges your endorsement of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Rose. Supervisor Bostrom, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, thank you, Supervisor Rose, for that detailed explanation. Again, just a general question to whomever can answer it. The graph in here talks about the contractor that we've employed, that we pay $243,000 per annum versus hiring the one county employee at $150,000. We're going to save $93,000 a year. Just out of curiosity, the group that we hired, how many people were actually working on the project for the county? Was it just one, or was it more than one? Or
on this specific project, we only hired one person from this contract agency. The rest of the people on the project are county employees or people who work here regularly.
Okay, so this is truly an apples to apples comparison. We hired a contractor that one person was working on this project for us, and rather than continue the contract, we're hiring the same person or somebody else? Or?
That person would be a strong candidate for the position, and yes, sir, that is exactly what we would be doing. It's straight one for one.
It's going to be bid out?
No, it would be a county position, so
No, I mean, this is going to be open to anybody that wants to bid on it?
We will recruit for this job, yes.
Okay, so we're not hiring this one person from this project? Because see, I've been down this road before with the city of Kenosha.
The individual involved will certainly be a candidate for this
Okay.
job, but others will be considered as well.
Got it. But in answer to my original question, there was one person working from this private contracting group, and there will be one person moving forward.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else, Supervisor Bostrom?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Supervisor Skalitsky, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To follow a little bit with Supervisor Bostrom's, and I don't care, somebody from the administration can answer. We talk about the ERP process and our project. It's a big project, but there's also mention here that there'll be subsequent capital projects that have been maybe thought about or whatever. Can anybody elaborate on after ERP? Because there is one thing about contracting is when you're done with it, you're done with it. But when you're bringing on somebody, I would certainly hope that that has been thought out for the long term.
Yes, sir, it has. On an ongoing basis, IT manages several large-scale projects, and this position would continue on in that same vein, continuing to manage those projects. In this instance, we're not actually increasing an FTE count. This is a change in position from someone who's retiring, and this role would just continue on with those type of projects.
Is the individual retiring more or less in this area of support, or is it a kind of a shift of roles?
It's a shift of roles.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Supervisor Skalitsky. Seeing no other lights. Motion passes.
Resolution 122 from the Human Services and Finance and Administration Committees, a resolution to convert public health nurse position to population health project manager. Human Services, Gable, yes. Hallman, yes. Retzlaff, yes. Blau, yes. Berg, excused. Poole, yes. Dodge, yes. Finance, Rose, yes. Ron Frederick, yes. Esposito, yes. Gens, yes. Kubicki, yes. Retzlaff, yes. Dodge, yes.
Supervisor Hallman, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Move Resolution 122.
I have a first by Supervisor Hallman and a second by Supervisor Rose. Supervisor Hallman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Instead of speaking on this, we had a little bit of some translation issues in committee, and I see our Director of the Health Department is present, so I'll ask her to come forward and give a much more thorough explanation so that this is nice and tidy.
Thank you, Supervisor Hallman. Cindy Johnson, I'm the Health Director for Kenosha County, and we are asking for your approval to convert a public health nurse position to a population health project manager. There will be no increase in levy. This due to retirements, plus the position that's already available has been open, that there would be no increase in cost. This person, the project manager, will manage a group of individuals that mostly are grant-supported programs and services. There are 11 programs that this person will be overseeing. The person will also be charged with evaluating and analyzing our programs, our grants, and they'll be equating the analysis through taking a look at our community health improvement projects. We have an annual community health needs assessment, and we're charged statutorily to do this assessment, community health improvement plan. This person will be taking a look at the improvements for our community and taking a look at any gaps, and then identifying any opportunities with additional grants that we can add to our county. Any questions that you might have?
Supervisor Gens, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So does this mean that this person is going to be responsible for monitoring the grants and bringing some type of report back to the committee?
Yes, they'll have 11 programs that they'll be monitoring. There are staff that are associated with all of the grants and services. Examples of those include the WIC project, tobacco prevention, our Vivitrol medication-assisted treatment program, the opioid epidemic, and a variety of other grants. And they will be analyzing all of the benchmarks that are associated with those grants and then compiling reports that are submitted not only to the funders but also for Kenosha County.
I think that's an important piece. When we take grant money, you know, I'm the first one to say, hey, that's a great idea because it helps us with some of the programs we need to get done. But that's really the end of what I hear about it. So I really think that that's a great idea. And, you know, not that you want to trip up what a grant does or doesn't do. You want to hear what the results are so you can gauge how effective the various grants are. So I think that's an important piece. So I further commend this. So thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Gens. Supervisor Skalitsky, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I got some of my answers, or some of the questions I had answered by the description of this position because I was struggling a little bit with it. But could you clarify a little bit about, have new needs come along, or how are these current task assignments, responsibilities for this individual position currently being handled?
Currently, they're under one person who also has other positions to monitor, so they're really under the oversight of one person who is managing a staff of 41. So organizationally, structurally, there's designed a separation so that we can have better monitoring and drilling down deeper, doing the project evaluation and analysis so that we can then associate with community health improvements and fill the gaps that exist.
And the assessment portion of it, will that be a collection of the outcomes as opposed to how well the grants are being managed?
Absolutely. It's data analysis and drilling down further with the data.
And then will this individual be, and I apologize if I'm using the wrong terminology, but they're going to be doing some analysis, they're going to be drawing some conclusions from the data, fact-based hopefully. And from there, will there be course corrections in the program or in the approach that then this individual will be presenting to, you know, management or whomever might be responsible?
Absolutely. That's the whole purpose. They'll not only be participating, 10% of their time will be a data abstractor for a particular project, but the other 90% of their time will be staff management and then also evaluating the projects themselves.
And I'm assuming part of the role is also then taking a look at new grants or new opportunities to bring them to fruition within our community.
Absolutely.
Okay. And will then this individual, or maybe through yourself at the committee meeting for the DHS, kind of give some updates to, and that just building off of what Supervisor Gens had said, is we hear about programs that we really don't see or feel data-based or fact-based outcomes to say, gee, are we just throwing money at something and really nothing is changing? Do you get the gist?
Good question. We'd be happy to present at every opportunity. We are purposely selecting evidence-based projects. They have strong fidelity and strong criteria in order to achieve positive outcomes. So that's the direction that we're going for our county.
Would you view that as a change from maybe where we've either are or where we've been, in your opinion, with regards, maybe not to this position, but overall, just trying to draw more evidence-based outcomes so that we can make the proper course corrections?
Yes. It takes a great deal to change behavior, and 50% of our population are considered the working poor, so there's economic stratospheres. Geographically, we can't change our location of our county. So based on all those factors, we make population health improvements at a very slow pace because often it's behavioral change.
Agree. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank Thank you, Supervisor Skalitsky. Supervisor Rose, you have the floor.
I do. Annually, we receive a report card on the state of the health of Kenosha County, and we're annually very near the bottom. Of 72 counties, we're in the middle 60s. So I think an important aspect that is mentioned here by the Health Department Director is the fact that this person will be assessing these various programs, seeing if they're effective, can there be any change which is made because we've seen this low report card rate for Kenosha County for a number of years. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Rose. Seeing no other lights. This is a budget modification, so we'll take a roll call. Motion passes.
Resolution 123 from the Human Service Committee, a resolution to approve the appointment of Nina Taylor to the Kenosha County Workforce Development Board. Gable, yes. Hallman, yes. Poole, yes. Berg, excused. Blau, yes. Dodge, yes. Retzloff, yes.
Supervisor Poole, you have the floor. I'm sorry, Supervisor Holman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Move Resolution 120. He's welcome to take it if he'd like. Move Resolution 123.
But he gets the second. Supervisor Holman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a resolution to approve the appointment of Ms. Nina Taylor, I believe I'm saying that correctly, to the Workforce Development Board. The one thing I'll say about this, as you just heard, yes, apparently it does seem true according to the data that we do have a 50% of our population in poverty. Part of the way out of this is to have this person on this board looking at how we can better train, better improve the education of our people here in Kenosha County to help pull them out of that. Of course, it's not the only thing we need to do, but it is principally one of the major legs of the stool in terms of solving that problem. So I urge your approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Holman. Seeing no lights, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Resolution 124 from Judiciary and Law Enforcement Committee, a resolution for cabaret license, Bella Vita, LLC. Blau, yes. Boyd Frederick, excused. Retzloff, yes. Skalitsky, yes. Wamble, yes.
Supervisor Blau, you have the floor.
I move Resolution 124.
I have a first by Supervisor Blau and a second by Supervisor Retzloff. Supervisor Blau.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a request for a regular cabaret license for Bella Vita LLC. They have been found to be in conformity with county ordinances during its conduct for a probationary period of the last 6 months. We ask for your support for this resolution.
Thank you, Supervisor Blau. Seeing no lights, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Resolution 125 from Judiciary and Law Enforcement Committee, a resolution to approve the appointment of Lieutenant Horace J. Staples to serve as a member of the Local Emergency Planning Committee. Blau, yes. Boyd Frederick, excused. Retzloff, yes. Skalitsky, yes. Wamble, yes.
Supervisor Blau, you have the floor.
I move Resolution 125.
We're first by Supervisor Blau, second by Supervisor Skalitsky. Supervisor Blau.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Lieutenant Staples has been with Kenosha County since July of 1995 and has held various positions within the Sheriff's Department and has had multiple promotions, working with many different departments. And he is currently, or he was promoted back in August of 2016 to the rank of lieutenant and assigned the Division of Emergency Management, assuming command of that division on October of 2016. We ask for your support.
Thank you, Supervisor Blau. Seeing no lights, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Resolution 126 from the Judiciary and Law Enforcement Committee, a resolution to approve the appointment of Lieutenant Horace Staples to the position of Director of the Kenosha County Division of Emergency Management. Blau, yes. Boyd Frederick, excused. Retzloff, yes. Skalitsky, yes. Wamble, yes.
Supervisor Blau, you have the floor.
I move Resolution 126.
I have a first by Supervisor Blau, second by Supervisor Wamble. Supervisor Blau.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm not going to repeat everything I said about Lieutenant Staples. We've approved his appointment, and we ask that the board do the same.
Supervisor Blau. Seeing no lights, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Resolution 127 from Judiciary and Law Enforcement Committee, a resolution to approve the appointment of Kurt Gardner to serve as a member of the Local Emergency Planning Committee. Blau, yes. Boyd Frederick, excused. Retzloff, yes. Skalitsky, yes. Wamble, yes.
Supervisor Blau, you have the floor.
I move Resolution 127.
I have a first by Supervisor Blau, second by Supervisor Retzloff. Supervisor Blau.
Right, this request, or this resolution, is for the appointment of Kurt Gardner. He has worked with Ocean Spray Cranberries, also a public-private partnership for emergency preparedness. We feel that he is adequately, or more than adequately, experienced for this position. We request for your support.
Thank you, Supervisor Blau. Seeing no lights, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Resolution 128 from the Judiciary, Law Enforcement, and the Finance and Administration Committees, a resolution regarding the 2017 Wisconsin OJ Multi-Jurisdiction Drug Task Force Grant, Southeast Area Drug Operations Group CDOG. Judiciary and Law, Blau, yes. Boyd Frederick, excused. Retzloff, yes. Skalitsky, yes. Wamble, yes. Finance, Rose, yes. Ron Frederick, yes. Gens, yes. Dodge, yes. Kubicki, yes. Esposito, yes. Retzloff, yes.
Supervisor Blau, you have the floor.
I move Resolution 128, sorry.
I have a first by Supervisor Blau, a second by Supervisor Rose. Supervisor Blau.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This resolution is for the 2017 Wisconsin OJA Multi-Jurisdictional Drug Task Force Grant for CDOG. The State of Wisconsin Office of Justice Assistance has awarded $211,792,000 to the multi-county consortium drug task forces, which includes Kenosha, Racine, Walworth, Dodge, and Jefferson counties. The Kenosha County share of this funding is $53,140, and there is a budget modification, so we ask for your support.
Thank you, Supervisor Blau. This is a budget modification. Yes if you're for it, no if you are against. Supervisor Skalitsky, could you push your button again, please? Motion passes.
Resolution 129 from the Legislative Committee, a resolution supporting the ruling and validating state legislative maps and ordering new ones. Boyd Frederick, excused. Hallman, yes. Berg, yes. Decker, excused. Franco, yes. Poole, no. Skalitsky, no.
Supervisor Hallman, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Move Resolution 129.
I have a first by Supervisor Hallman and a second by Supervisor Blau. Supervisor Blau, would you like to speak on your resolution?
Yes, I would like to speak on this resolution, which hopefully everybody here has read it. I'm not going to reread everything that's in that resolution. And I know from the last week's legislative committee that there were some concerns that this ruling invalidating state legislative maps and ordering new ones is a partisan issue. And yes, we are a nonpartisan board, but we are talking about being fiscally responsible and basic fairness here to our voters, who are also our constituents and also taxpayers. Our taxpayers will be the ones footing the bill for this appeal that is detailed in my resolution. This defending the current maps has already spent by the State Justice Department has already cost taxpayers $2 million to defend the current maps. If they are looking to have, their Attorney General is looking to have outside counsel hired for this appeal, which will cost taxpayers even millions of more dollars. We really aren't sure how much, but I know it'll be a lot. These people are our voters, they're also our taxpayers and our constituents, and we need to be good stewards of taxpayer money. A lot of people here on the county board like to think that they are good stewards of taxpayer money, but if they don't support this, then what kind of message are you sending to your constituents if you are letting the state have a blank checkbook in order to defend this or have this appeal? Thank you. And also, I wanted to add one more thing. There was a recent resolution passed by Lincoln County stating the same thing, and it passed 16-4 in favor of redrawing the maps.
Thank you, Supervisor Blau. Supervisor Franco, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wholeheartedly support Supervisor Blau's resolution on gerrymandering. One of the arguments brought up in committee was that the county board is a nonpartisan entity and should not get involved with a partisan issue such as this. I disagree, because this shouldn't be a partisan issue. Leaving the drawing of state electoral lines up to political parties, whether Republican or Democrat, is precisely the problem. Similar to Iowa, I believe a nonpartisan commission should draw the lines of legislative districts in order to ensure that neither political party overwhelmingly benefits from safe districts where minority party voters are in essence disenfranchised. In fact, Wisconsin is the poster child for needing electoral reform in this area. In the Whitford v. Gill case, the Circuit Court ruled that the extent of gerrymandering in Wisconsin was one of the worst examples in the country. In short, this resolution is a case of equity, of fairness, of equal protection under the law. Drawing legislative lines in order to deliberately maintain a lock on power hurts our democracy. The citizens of Wisconsin vote for their representatives, and this should be a competitive process, not a fait accompli where representatives pick their own voters. All this does is polarize our representatives even more, since they have no fear of losing and consequently ignore the voices of those citizens who do not vote for the majority party. So I will be voting for Supervisor Blau's resolution and encourage others on the board to do so as well. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Supervisor Franco. Supervisor Poole, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am not in support of Resolution 129. First, we're a nonpartisan board, and this is a partisan issue. Second, the maps were not gerrymandered. I did a search of the top 10 gerrymandered congressional districts in the U.S. No district in Wisconsin even made the list. 2 in Illinois did make the list, and I used to live in one of those, the Illinois 17th District. It was number 5 in the country. That district went from north of Rock Island to south of Springfield and over to Decatur. It covered half the state from north to south, and at some points was only a township wide. I know what gerrymandering is because I lived through it in the Illinois 17th District. Our Wisconsin maps are not even close to gerrymandering. As the dissenting Judge Griesbach stated in his opinion, I do not believe the plan was a gerrymander and only modestly extends the electoral advantage beyond what it would exist naturally. I expect the decision of the court to be overturned on appeal. I ask you to vote no. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Poole. Supervisor Skalitsky, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also did not support this resolution in committee, and I will not support it tonight. Simply put, the lawsuit wouldn't even be present if the Democratic Party hadn't brought suit against a duly elected body to fulfill its constitutional rights to redraw district maps based on consensus or census findings. In addition, the suit is working its way through the legal system. It has still not been determined completely what the outcome is going to be, and I think that we owe it to the voters of our state to allow it to work through the system to find out what the final outcome is. The taxpayers of Wisconsin would not have to be spending any of their hard-earned money on a lawsuit had it not been brought, the original suit, by the partisan organization being the Democratic Party. So as a result, I feel very strongly that it should work its way through the legal process, and until that time, I don't think that this board should be putting its stamp on any kind of support for redistricting or redrawing of district lines until that outcome is determined. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Supervisor Skalitsky. Supervisor Alverman, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I have a question. I may be the only one in this room that looks at our 2 political parties with equal disdain. So I can see how this vote went in committee. it's a little ridiculous, this debate I'm hearing tonight. My question is, does anybody else have the second page of this? I don't have it. I don't have the, how is, therefore, be it resolved? I have nothing for a second page. Okay. So if you could give me a second?
Absolutely.
Supervisor Gens and I are both reading. He doesn't have it either.
I'm not just cuddling up to him, I am reading it, so just so you know.
Understand.
He's just cuddling up to her.
He was actually looking at my mileage check because it's big.
Uh-huh.
Thank you. So, I think this is ridiculous on both sides. It's just such a veiled argument on the let's not do anything. What we do here this evening won't mean a thing. Supervisor Pools, Supervisor Skalitsky, if they think they're fooling anybody while they're making those arguments, it's ridiculous. I don't see a need for this resolution. So it's, as I said, I have equal disdain for both political parties.
Anything else?
No, that's it.
Thank you, Supervisor Elberman. Supervisor Wample, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I actually agree with Supervisor Elberman that we don't need this resolution. But, and I appreciate everyone else's comments, including those at the beginning of tonight's session. But what I have an issue with is that we are voting on something as important as this while it's still in the courts. Because as this goes through the courts and the process, new information may come forth that may change my vote. I don't know. It hasn't completed the process yet. So that's where I fall. I agree with Supervisor Elverman. I don't think we should be doing this, but until this gets its way through the courts, I will vote no. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Wample. Supervisor Hallman, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm in favor of this resolution, and given all that I've heard, I'm not really quite so sure where to start. I guess I would say that I'm probably the only person as a member of this body who has both been a member of our redistricting process as well as run for partisan office. I might add a third to that to say that I do have equal disdain for both political parties, which is why I write all of my own stuff. If I can look you in the face and have a conversation with you on the issues, I see no reason why someone else should be whispering into my ear telling me what to do. Which is also why, if you check back on the historical record of being on this body, when we did have redistricting, I was the only person to redistrict himself with an opponent. Because I felt like if you can speak to the issues well enough and you know them well enough and you're not afraid to talk to people, then you really shouldn't have any problems. So I can say that I took a constitutional law course a couple semesters ago at UW Parkside, not too long ago, and this did come up. We did look at the issue of gerrymandering. I think probably the most important thing for those of us sitting here is that we're going to have to encounter redistricting coming around again. And the most important aspect of that from our previous head of Corporation Counsel, Mr. Frank Volpentesta, was the question of standard deviation. The difference between the number of persons per district and how that can't exceed a certain threshold. And the difference between that versus legal gerrymandering in terms of preserving historic districts, communities of interest, however that gets defined by law, and the things that you can't do in terms of illegal gerrymandering in terms of cracking and packing. If it is the desire of this body to say to the court system, please give better, strict, clear accountability for rules as to how we can proceed forward in terms of redistricting, I think that's wise. If it is simply to play partisan political games, then you can certainly count me out of it. But as I understand the resolution is submitted by my colleague to my right, she seems to have a legitimate concerned interest in terms of how the data looks, in terms of how the maps are drawn, and the way things are currently. So in that, I support her, and I will be supporting this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Hallman. Supervisor Gilmore, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First thing, I just want to say I agree with Elverman on this issue. I don't see any point to this resolution. I'd like to know what it will actually do if we do bring this and pass this. What is it actually going to accomplish? This is a state issue, and it is a partisan issue, and I agree with Elverman on it. With all due respect, Madam Chair, one of the first addresses you gave to us, you said you wanted to bring unity to this board, and this further divides us. This doesn't bring us together. I will not be in supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Gilmore. Supervisor Retzloff, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am agreeing also with Supervisor Alverman on why we're doing this. And one issue, you could talk long and involved about which way you feel on this, but I'm talking more about bringing these types of things to the board. I deliberately did not bring prevailing wage, project labor agreements that the legislation was looking at, because I felt that wasn't our part to do that. And that did affect Brookside, because both were subject to those two things, which affected our taxpayers directly. This not as much. So I could have done that. It probably wouldn't have passed, but I feel like that's not what we do here. That's very partisan, and I could have easily have done that, and I didn't. So that's what I'm against, is the partisanship of this type of thing. I don't see that here for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Retzloff. Supervisor Elverman, did you have something else?
No.
No? Okay. Seeing no other lights? Roll call has been requested. So Supervisors Poole and Wambold, if you could mark them as a no.
Still fail. It's 11 to 10.
Is it 11?
Even with their two, it'd be 11 to 10. So it still passes.
So the resolution still passes even with switching the two votes to no. Correct? It's 11. It says, I can see that far.
Yeah, it's 11 yes, 8 no, 1 absent, or 1 abstain, and 3 absent. So if you add the 2 on there, it's 10.
So it'd be 10
to 11. There's 11 yes, 8 no, 1 abstain, 3 absent.
Bring it down to 9.
Oh, it'll bring the yes to yes tonight.
Yeah,
You're
it's
right,
gonna
2
bring
away
the
from
yeses
9.
down, so
9.
Yes, it fails.
9 to
So
10.
it fails.
Yeah.
It fails? Yeah. Resolution fails.
Yeah,
Right,
because you're
'cause
taking
it's-
2 away from the yes. Well, we don't change it. We don't change it on the board.
I can't change on the
It doesn't
Can't
get
change
changed
it
on the board.
once you lock it in. But we have noted
But we
it.
will take 2 yeses away and add 2 to the
That'll be
noes.
9.
Right, 9 to 10.
Right?
Right, 9 to 10.
Do you want me to see if I can clear it and do it again?
Are we going to do it again?
I don't know, let's see.
Joe, do we want to do it again, just to make sure? Okay, for those of you that marked your answer incorrectly, we're going to take another roll call vote on this. Yes, if you want the resolution. No, if you do not. Resolution fails.
Resolution 130 from the Legislative and Finance and Administration Committees, a resolution in support of the preservation of tax-exempt financing. Frederick excused, Hallman yes, Berg yes, Decker excused, Franco yes, Poole yes, Kalitzky yes.
Are we on 130?
Yeah.
Yeah, finance is on it too.
Oh, not on mine. Oh, sorry. On the back page, then. Okay. And Finance, Rose, yes. Ron Frederick, yes. Esposito, yes. Retzlaff, yes. Dodge, yes. Gentz, yes. Kubicki, yes.
Supervisor Rose, you have the floor.
All right, thank you. And did someone move the resolution?
Oh,
I would move the resolution.
did you want to move it, or?
I do.
Okay. This is what happens when they don't. You moved it?
I did.
Okay. Supervisor Hallman, you seconded it. Supervisor Rose, you have the floor.
All right, thank you. It was brought to the attention of the Finance Committee by Mr. Gersten that there is a current effort in the Congress to eliminate the tax-exempt financing for municipal bonds. This could affect Kenosha County as well as other cities, counties, school districts, and states. Currently, we issue municipal bonds at a substantial annual savings to Kenosha taxpayers. The big advantage, two big advantages in municipal bonds is one, that they are tax exempt either at state or federal level. Some bonds are exempt both state and federal. And second, that the bonds are generally considered to be a safe investment for the people who purchase them. We want to retain that and urge our legislators, if it comes to a vote, to retain and support the preservation of tax-exempt financing, as it encourages growth and development in our community and gives us a certain advantage in selling those bonds across this country. We urge your support of the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Rose. Supervisor Hallman, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Speaking on the Legislative Committee side, this actually came forward a number of years ago from the former chair of the Ways and Means Committee in Congress, Dave Camp. He submitted I believe it was a 976-page proposal on tax reform. This was one of the goodies that was in there and made it on the list of Forbes 25 interesting things as part of his proposal. So this is one of those congressional ideas that is a bad idea that will not die. Quite frankly, the amount of revenue the feds will raise off of it is next to nothing compared to what they would find in the couch cushions at the Department of Defense. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Hallman. Supervisor Retzlaff, you have the floor.
Yes, I have a question to who wrote this. Is there anyone who is, I guess it's from, oh, he's not here. I was for this, I voted for it. My concern too is, why wasn't property taxes added? That's even more direct to us. If you can't deduct property taxes, that's exactly how we pay for our existence here. So I don't know if my question is going to go anywhere, since who wrote this isn't here, but I question why that wasn't put in either. So just my comment. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Supervisor Retzlaff. Supervisor Elverman, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I have a question. I don't have it on my form here, and I would ask if the clerk could read how the votes went on the committees again.
For both committees, Supervisor Elverman?
Yes, please.
Legislative Committee, Hallman, yes. Berg, yes. Decker, excused. Boyd Frederick, excused. Franco, yes. Poole, yes. Galitsky, yes. Finance, Rose, yes. Ron Frederick, yes. Esposito, yes. Retzlaff, yes. Dodge, yes. Gentz, yes. Kubicki, yes.
Anything else?
No, thank you. Maybe my theory this evening isn't correct. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Overman. Supervisor Hallman, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to try to address the supervisor's previous question about why property taxes may not have been included. I can't say for certain definitively as to why, but much of the conversation at the National Association of Counties has been specifically focused on the municipal bonds aspect, because that seems to be the one that has the most traction in terms of continued conversation in Congress. I think there's a lot of understanding both at the federal, state, and local level about the complications about how different jurisdictions utilize property taxes and what that may or may not mean. It seems that municipal bonds just seems to be easy picking, low-hanging fruit that won't really do a whole lot for the feds. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Hallman. Supervisor Bostrom, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just as a mild retort to the gentleman behind me. amongst the many proposals that have been flying around, I can certainly assure you that the property tax deductibility and your mortgage interest deductibility are also threatened as well. So if someone were interested in making a friendly amendment to this resolution to include those, I would happily support that. As a matter of fact, I will make a friendly amendment to the resolution to oppose the elimination of the property tax deduction for real estate taxes and the mortgage interest deduction.
State your point.
I'd ask for the Corporation Council's opinion whether or not the whole resolution needs to be revised with the sufficient whereas clauses, because otherwise it just doesn't make any sense. It's just doesn't follow. Right now we're talking about municipal bonds and all of that issue, and that's where all of the whereas clauses are directed, and then we end up by saying we continue to support the deductibility of real estate taxes and mortgage interest. It just doesn't follow. I mean, I'm supportive of what you're saying, but why not take the time and draft up the necessary supporting resolution so that it is more credible? It just isn't credible that way. So I'd say vote on this. If you want to bring that back to the next meeting, that's good. But spend a little time and effort on the supporting data.
Thank you, Supervisor Rose. Supervisor Bostrom?
I'll withdraw my friendly amendment, and then I would make a motion to send this back to both committees so that the appropriate language can be added correctly to this resolution.
Second.
I have multiple seconds. Who wants it? Supervisor Gilmore gets the second. All those in favor of... Roll call. Okay, roll call has been requested. Yes, if you are in favor of sending it back to committee. No, if you are not.
Yes, if you're in favor.
Yes, if you are in favor of sending it back to committee. No, if you are not.
That means, do you understand the difference between yes and no, Jeff?
Motion passes to send it back to committee.
So we're moving on then to 131.
131.
Resolution 131 from the Planning, Development, Extension, Education Committee, a resolution to appoint Carl Matthew Satterston to the George Lake Planning and Rehabilitation District Board. Decker excused, Poole, yes, Skalitsky, yes, Gilmore, yes, Bostrom, yes.
Supervisor Poole, you have the floor.
I move Resolution 131.
I have a first by Supervisor Poole and a second by Supervisor Skalitsky. Supervisor Poole.
This resolution would appoint Mr. Satterston to the George Lake Planning and Rehabilitation District Board. The Land and Water Conservation Committee recommended approval of the appointment at their meeting of March 6, 2017. Mr. Satterston attended our hearing and answered questions at the Planning, Development, and Education Committee meeting on April 12, 2017, and we recommended approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Poole. Seeing no lights, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Resolution 132 from the Public Works and Facilities and the Finance and Administration Committees, a resolution to apply for We Energy's permanent easement request within county-owned properties in the area of 1116 57th Street. Elverman, yes. Grady, yes. O'Day, yes. Gilmore, yes. Wamble, yes. Bostrom, yes. Franco, yes. Finance, Rose, yes. Ron Frederick, yes. Gens, yes. Kubicki, yes. Retzloff, yes. Esposito, yes. Dodge, yes.
Supervisor Elverman, you have the floor.
I move Resolution 132, Madam Chairman.
I have a first by Supervisor Elverman, second by Supervisor Rose. Supervisor Elverman.
This is something we've been bringing to you quite frequently in the last 3 months. This is another easement due to construction. We Energies requires and asks for it. It is for the, it's all part of the second floor remodel at the Public Safety Building. This is for the Fleet Maintenance Building, building that we purchased about 1.5 years ago. Very common. Ask for your approval.
Seeing no lights, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Resolution 133 from the Public Works and Facilities and the Finance and Administration Committees, a resolution to create an account in the Division of Parks budget to accept donations. Elverman, yes. Grady, yes. O'Day, yes. Gilmore, yes. Wamble, yes. Bostrom, yes. Franco, yes. Finance, Rose, yes. Ron Frederick, yes. Gens, yes. Kubicki, yes. Retzloff, yes. Esposito, yes. Dodge, yes.
Supervisor Elverman, you have the floor.
I move Resolution 133.
I have a first by Supervisor Elverman, second by Supervisor Ron Frederick. Supervisor Elverman.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The Public Works and Facilities Division does not have a way, we have a way, but each one has to be treated separately, a way to accept donations for the Parks Division. We have one separate account for, say, the dog parks. We have other various accounts, but what this does is allow people to donate to the park system up to $25,000. It would not affect the current budget of the park system. It would give us an avenue and an account to put donations into. And most of this was spurred by the 90th anniversary of the park system. There are people that want to help with the celebration and various aspects of it. So we need an account separately set up, and we ask for your permission and approval.
Thank you, Supervisor Elverman. This is a budget modification. Supervisor Poole, can you push your button again? Oh, never mind. Motion passes.
Resolution 134 from the Public Works and Facilities and the Finance and Administration Committees, a resolution to hire a park superintendent to succeed the incumbent park superintendent. Public Works, Elverman, yes. Grady, yes. Gilmore, yes. Wamble, yes. Bostrom, yes. O'Day, yes. Franco, yes. Finance, Rose, yes. Ron Frederick, yes. Esposito, yes. Gens, yes. Kubicki, yes. Retzloff, yes. Dodge, yes.
Supervisor Elverman, you have the floor.
I move Resolution 134.
I have a first by Supervisor Elverman and a second by Supervisor Kubicki. Supervisor Elverman.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. We have another major retirement in the Parks Department coming up. We've had two in our division here with the facilities, with our Highway Commissioner and our Mr. Rudy retiring last year. We have one of our foremen, believe it or not, that worked longer than Mr. Rudy there, and he is going to be leaving. It has worked well to our advantage to have someone work with the current employee. So what we have in this year's budget is the money to have someone work with our foreman here this year until his retirement in January, to learn. Believe it or not, and I know people have worked many jobs in their life in this room, but some of the things that you do, only Mr. Rudy and this man know. You know, you may have moved a gas line at Pets, you may have done this at Fox River Park. So we need some training. There will be a hire done, and as I said, it's in our budget for this year. It's worked to our advantage on two major issues, and so I'd ask for your support on this one.
Thank you, Supervisor Elverman. Seeing no lights. Is this a budget? No. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Resolution 135 from the Public Works and Facilities and the Finance and Administration Committees, a resolution authorizing Director of Parks to apply for grant funding from the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources, which will be used to make trail improvements in Katy Park. Elverman, yes. Grady, yes. O'Day, yes. Gilmore, yes. Wamble, yes. Bostrom, yes. Franco, yes. Finance, Rose, yes. Ron Frederick, yes. Gens, yes. Kubicki, yes. Retzloff, yes. Esposito, yes. Dodge, yes.
Supervisor Elverman, you have the floor.
I move Resolution 135.
I have a first by Supervisor Elverman and a second by Supervisor Gens. Supervisor Elverman.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. This is our ongoing construction and plans for the Katy Park. I've been reporting on for years, and we've had great results. I think 2 years ago we didn't get any grant funding for this, but we were fortunate enough last year because we applied for a little bit different grant. We are asking for your permission to apply for a grant for multi-use trails. And we do have the funding, our half, if we receive this grant, in this year's budget. This will be multi-use trails in the center of the park, away from the lake. By multi-use, I mean it would be accessible to pedestrian, bicycle traffic, and it would be also handicap accessible because there would be a firm base laid in this trail other than the dirt and grass in the rest of the park. So I ask for your approval for our people to apply for this grant.
Thank you, Supervisor Overman. Seeing no lights, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Confused. Okay. Resolution 136 from the Public Works and the Finance and Administration Committees, a resolution authorizing Director of Parks to apply for grant funding from the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources, which will be used for Phase 2 improvements in Katy Park. Public Works, Elverman, yes. Grady, yes. O'Day, yes. Gilmore, yes. Wamble, yes. Bostrom, yes. Franco, yes. Finance, Rose, yes. Ron Frederick, yes. Esposito, yes. Gens, yes. Kubicki, yes. Retzlaff, yes. Dodge, yes.
Supervisor Overman, you have the floor.
Thank you. I would move Resolution 136.
I have a first by Supervisor Elverman, a second by Supervisor Retzlaff, and Supervisor Overman.
Again, part of the enhancements to the Katy Park that we have on our wish list. Last year, if you haven't been out there, you should take a look and see what we were able to accomplish last year with the road, parking lot, water retention areas. It's just a super enhancement. The plan for this year, or the grant that we're applying for, and part of our wish list, is to be able to add one more parking lot, a washroom facility, and a dock that would be multi-use. Part of the original plans here were for our dive teams of Kenosha County to be able to practice there. The dock would also be used for handicap fishing. This would be, if received, a $446,000 project. Half of it would be our responsibility, and again, that is in this year's budget. If we would receive the grant, what we're asking for is the permission to apply for the grant.
Thank you, Supervisor Overman. Seeing no lights, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Resolution 137 from the Public Works Facilities Committee, a resolution to approve the appointment of Rosalind Guida Brown to serve on the Kenosha County Traffic Safety Commission. Elverman, yes. Grady, yes. O'Day, yes. Gilmore, yes. Wamble, yes. Bostrom, yes. Franco, yes.
Supervisor Overman, you have the floor.
I move Resolution 137.
I have a first by Supervisor Overman and a second by Supervisor Grady. Supervisor Overman.
Thank you. I would ask for your approval. The Traffic Safety Commission is naturally very important. We have people from law enforcement. We have people from all aspects of the community on that. And we had someone apply here or agree to be on it. That is the Executive Director of the Hope Council on Alcohol and Other Drug Abuse. Came to our meeting, presented herself, and agreed to do this. So this is a huge addition for the county on this commission. We are so glad to have her. If you would approve her this evening, that's what we ask.
Thank you, Supervisor Overman. Seeing no lights, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Resolution 138 from the Planning Development Extension Education Committee, a resolution to appoint Lieutenant Horace Staples to the Kenosha County Land Information Council. Decker excused. Poole, yes. Galitsky, yes. Gilmore, yes. Bostrom, yes.
Supervisor Poole, you have the floor.
Move Resolution 138.
I have a first by Supervisor Poole and a second by Supervisor Gilmore. Supervisor Poole.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This resolution would appoint Lieutenant Staples to the Land Information Council. Mr. Staples will serve without pay and will be succeeding Lieutenant Gil Ben. The Planning, Development, and Extension Education Committee reviewed this item at their April 12, 2017 meeting, which Lieutenant Staples attended, and we recommended approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Poole. Supervisor Gens, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Did anybody ask Lieutenant Staples if he can make all these meetings? Just saying. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Gens. Seeing no other lights, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Approval of the April 5th, 2017 minutes by Supervisor Wamble.
I move to approve the minutes of the April 5th meeting.
I have a first by Supervisor Wamble and a second by Supervisor Berg to approve the minutes. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Minutes are approved.
Adjourn Sindai.
I have a first by Vice Chair Esposito and a second by Supervisor Ron Frederick. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned Sindai. I'm going to take a 5-minute break.
To order.
We're going to take a 5-minute break.
It's going to take us 5 minutes, we'll be done.